My aging hero always related to people of any age. So she could sit and have a conversation with younger people and did it in a way that never felt maternal or motherly. She just enjoyed hearing all different perspectives, regardless of people's age.
One person I can think of, he's in his 80s and he makes regular treks to base camp at Mount Everest and goes to the Andes, to Machu Picchu, and he's like, I'm gonna die someday, so I'm gonna just live every moment to its fullest and, wrench out every bit of life that I can.
There is no way for any of us to personally know what life will be like for our older selves. We have all lived through toddlerhood and childhood. We've survived our teen years and navigated our way into adulthood. And as adults, we have empathy for those who are experiencing these younger life stages now. But the only way for us to know about older age is through the lens of those who have explored aging ahead of us. For some, we have watched grandparents or parents, aunts and uncles, or neighbors venture into later life. For others, they have outlived the ages when all their relatives before them had died, and they outlive many of their contemporaries. So how can we learn to approach our own future age? Joe Coughlin, director of MIT's Age Lab, talks about later life being a new continent, and those who are fortunate enough to live that long are the early explorers who make maps for those who follow.
The fact is that the people that are aging today, I want you to think about them the way you think about your relatives decades ago. They are new pioneers in the longevity economy. We've never had this type of older person in this context.
Who are the explorers of late life who teach you about this aging process? Have you ever known someone who you thought, when I am their age, I want to be like them? We call these individuals aging heroes, people who exemplify an approach to their aging process that encourages you in your own journey. Everyone has aging friends and family members who have inspired us. We are going to look at two people who have lived extraordinary lives of service. Each has become an aging hero in his community.
For 10 years, I volunteered for the fire and rescue. I wasn't a firefighter, I was an EMT and went on, medical runs. Of course, more recently, I've been going to Rwanda. I've been to Rwanda 4 times and taught at high school there.
There used to be lettuce all over on this side, and then the Swiss chard, we're still getting a lot of Swiss chard. I'll take some to the food pantry because it's going to bolt.
Both my grandfathers were farmers, and so when I was a kid growing up, we always had a garden, and my sister would say that at one point I said, when I grow up, I'm never going to have a garden because I always had to work on the garden, but then I came back to it and it sort of felt part of my heritage, and so I've enjoyed doing that. It's been particularly satisfying to supply the excess to the food pantry, and there are a couple people down the street that come every week and get vegetables and that are, have some economic limitations. So I've enjoyed doing that.
Al Schleter, a retired chemistry professor, has drawn on his teaching skills as a tutor, but also as a mentor to a young man in his neighborhood.
We've done a lot of things one-on-one. A couple times I've had him help me. I've got a big garden and I had to dig the posts out. I mean, I'm not as strong as I used to be. So he helped me dig up all the posts and roll up the wire, and then he took the lawnmower and cut everything. So got it all ready for winter. It was a big help.
Al competes with friends regularly on the pickleball court. In spite of his age and a chronic illness, he is one of the better players.
They have the CLL, chronic lymphocytic leukemia, which is not life-threatening, but it's having an impact. What I'm having to do is cope with having a health problem because I never had a health problem, so I don't know quite how to deal with it.
I haven't planted the squash yet, but I've got manure here on the hill. The hills are
it's all ready to go. I'll probably plant them in the next day or two. Friday is
Sometimes aging heroes are just living life in their older years, much as they have approached the rest of their life, like Al. But they do so with a deepened sense of purpose and clarity. For others, they start new hobbies, or take up new causes, or just find ways to continue to give to others, inspiring community members of all ages to be better citizens and members of the larger human family. Meet Morton Branham of Mount Enon Missionary Baptist Church. His dedication to feeding people in his community has inspired many people to consider him an aging hero.
In my neighborhood, which was not that far from here, I'm very fond of my neighborhood, which is Edgemount. And in that Edgemount neighborhood, it's a working class neighborhood. We had a lot of older gentlemen and ladies, but I related to the gentlemen that were in the neighborhood that looked out for everyone. They looked out for the elderly, looked out for the youth, they looked out for the women. You would have people on a daily basis that were in need, and people on a daily basis that would supply the needs. And I remember my mom and my dad, both of them were giving. My dad is deceased, but my mom is still alive. She's 87. I remember her where she used to have kids that was in the neighborhood that didn't have much. She used to feed them. I didn't think about it, but I guess it was tattooed in my brain, seeing that. And as I got older, I guess I can't help myself. So those type of things were, I was I guess that was training ground.
Morton Branham has become an aging hero to his church and to the broader community. For over 14 years, he has been leading the First Fruits ministry that feeds people every Sunday at his church, and then often moves on to a nearby housing project to offer meals to anyone in need. Even the pandemic has not stopped his ministry.
2006 rolled around, and it was put on my heart to feed the people in the community. I remember being out here in the parking lot and seeing people come and go. And I said to myself, well, something came to me and said, this is a church, this is on a busy corner, and in this neighborhood we have a lot of people. I said I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I wanted to help feed and clothe the people in the community. I said the church needs to do it. That's what was laid on my heart.
One day as we pulled out of the parking lot, Morton was on the other side, and he was frying fish. And people from the community began to come this way. And I thought to myself, he's going to feed them. I could help do that. Well, I didn't help do it that Sunday or the next Sunday or the next Sunday. But when the opportunity presented itself, I said I'm going to offer my services to the First Fruits ministry, and that's what I did.
When Morton began feeding residents of the DeSoto Bass neighborhood, the children loved to see his truck pull up.
When we finish here on Sunday, sometimes we go to DeSoto Bass, a housing project over off of Germantown, and pass out dinners. And they look forward to that, and they look for him to come. When his truck rolls up, the children come out of the house. I've heard him talk about his childhood, and I think he always wanted to do something like this, to reach out to those that needed something, whatever they needed. I don't know where all his resources come from. I know some of them come from him, from the church. But it's interesting that we're able to do this Sunday after Sunday. And there are others who are instrumental now in this operation. You know, there is someone cooking and feeding and packing food.
When a series of major tornadoes struck Dayton in 2019, Morton extended his ministry to people who had been displaced.
When the tornado hit, the pastor had it set up where we could help those who needed help.
and a lot of people were displaced, nothing to eat, just the standard day-to-day. They didn't have that. So I asked God, what should I be doing? I got my answer. Go out, cook fish sandwiches. And one of the hard-hit areas at that time was Trotwood. And they have an area up there called the Salem Mall, which is no longer a mall, but it's just an open space with parking places and all that. And so I decided that's where I would locate at, set my tent up, set my tables up, put my fryer out, and just fry fish and give it to those who were in need. People start seeing me there, and a lot of people start smelling the fish. And it attracted them, and anyone who needed something to eat, we would serve them fish, and then people start bringing pop, chips, things like that. So that would be the other little side stuff to go along with the fish. But I wanted to make sure someone had something hot to go in their bellies at that time.